Welcome to The Art of Selling Art. My name is Jason. I founded this whole thing back in 2018, and its purpose is to help artists sell more art and to look at their art as a product that they bring to market. And what we're talking about today is we're talking with Denise, who is one of the artists who have been in the art of selling art for quite a while, and she's been doing the work, which is I mean, I could go on a whole tangent about signing up for courses and then actually doing the material in order to get the results. But we're going to talk about some of her results and some, I guess, a mindset shift that you went through and what it's done for you. So, Denise, why don't you introduce yourself and your art?
Hi, I'm Denise. I'm originally from Holland, but I've lived all over the place. I'm sort of a nomad in that regard. And that is what fuels my inspiration for my art. I am somebody who has a very hard time saying goodbye to places. So I have this uncontrollable urge to take 500,000 photographs, to hold on to every inch. And then I fuse those photographs together into these condensed memories of the place that I love. And that is what I do. And that is who I am.
So I mean, I know we're going to talk about something else, but what you brought up just now is really, really important. Like Denise's why. Like, why does she do what she does? She has a hard time saying goodbye to places and like being able to, I've never heard someone say that, right? And while the idea may be similar to a lot of artists and their creative paths, you defined it in a way that's unique. And it's so much better than I love being out in nature, right? Or
Well,
I feel at peace when I'm painting alone in the studio, because that's not really a why. That's unique to the
it's
artist.
not. And let
Um,
me tell you, it took me such a long time to get here. And I discovered this last little bit only like maybe 4 weeks ago. And I've been working on this thing for 2.5 years, figuring because I honestly never thought I had a story.
mhm.
I honestly thought that I just liked to make pretty pictures and everything. I'm not one of those I'm not a suffering artist. I'm a very happy-go-lucky person, and I did not think I had a story. And honestly, I came to the conclusion that my art does come from a place of pain, surprisingly.
Yeah. Uh, Whole nother bag of worms. But like
Oh
one
yeah, for
of the
sure.
modules in TASA is about asking yourself over and over, why? Right? So like, why do I like the color black? Why do I like simpler things? Okay. Oh, I like it because I don't know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, why again? Why? And then you keep going through until you come down to a single answer that you can't divide again. And like you said, it takes time. It took
It
me
does.
I started doing photography in 2006. I didn't come up with the why until like 2014. And that only happened because someone asked me a question about my art and I started looking at it differently, my own stuff. So
Yeah.
this I'm really glad that you have that. Um, and I wasn't expecting to talk about that today, but yeah, so that's really great. And I think just for a later note, we should talk about that in our one of our roundtables. Um, but we're talking about follow-ups today, right? Like we're talking
Yes.
about, so this show is share your wins in art. So tell me about this win that you wanted to share today.
Well, I did a fairly large interior design show, one of those indoor ones where you rent a booth for like $4,000. And I'd never done an interior design show before, so I had all these expectations of meeting interior designers, and it was a high-end show. So there was all these like high-end products that were being sold. So I was like, well, with my new price raise just happened like a couple of months before, it's going to go really well, which it didn't. I sold nothing and I didn't meet any interior designers and I was really bummed. Um, but I had met a whole bunch of people and there was one guy, he was actually one of the other exhibitors, and he had been to my booth every single day, multiple times a day. He came to look at the artwork. On Sunday, he brought his wife, but he was one of those guys. He was also there to see all of the other cool stuff. So he
Hmm.
had her look at a table and he had her look at tiling and all these kinds of things. So I think she mostly was very overwhelmed, and she was just like, he had this whole idea about a painting that he wanted like a custom piece, and we had talked about it a bit back and forth. But she was just not on board yet. She was not. Uh,
Mhm.
she had 5 minutes in my booth, and she was not there. But he was very convinced that this was what he wanted, so I got his information. And the thing was that he wanted his car in there. He drives a Lamborghini, and the car needed to be in there, and the family needed to be in there. So I think it was for my solo that was starting October. Like right before then, he sort of made it known to me that he was like, "Well, I think we're going to postpone it till next year because that's when the new house is coming and blah blah blah." So in my mind, it was done deal. It was not happening. I was like,
Mhm.
"Well, we're done. It's not going to happen." And it's a substantial piece we're talking about. It's like a $10,000, $11,000 piece, and so I
Right.
was obviously not happy about that. But I still invited him to the solo. I was like, well, might as well see if he wants to come out. Who knows? And then him and his wife and his daughter, they came to the show. They spent the entire evening at the gallery, like looking at the artwork. And then at the end of the night, he was like, okay, I want I want my piece. I don't want it to be a triptych. I want it in that exact size. So I was like, well, it was October. It was nearing winter time. Like, well, maybe we should postpone taking photos till the spring because that gives a little bit more time. He's like, no, you're gonna be in Toronto again in November. I want it then, and I want it done. Like, okay, well, there we go then.
So like the hard part of this whole process was you remaining in touch with this guy, right?
Yes.
Because like uh, spoiler alert for everyone who does an interior design show, you never sell anything at an interior design show. Very
No.
rarely do you sell anything. I mean, a few of our people, I think Donna has sold at shows, and she'll be on this show soon too. But if you have a less commercial appeal to your art, you're not going to sell anything at the design show. So everything that you earn from those $1,000 spent just showing up has to come from the follow up. And before we talked, before I hit the record button, you said that you had never done a follow up before.
No.
No.
And I've done big shows. I've done like Artist Project here in Canada is the biggest show, and it's one of those rent a booth like indoor in the early spring. I done those shows, and I've made sales at those shows, and I had many people take my business card. But I'd always hear other artists say, "Oh, but the after sales are so good. The after sales are amazing." I'm like, I've never had an after sale from a show. Nobody's ever contacted me before.
Mhm.
I was always wondering, how do they do that? And it never occurred to me that I should like write down their contact information. I mean, I collect their email addresses and I put them on my mailing list,
Mhm.
but I didn't actively like email them specifically to ask them, "Hey, you saw this artwork. Maybe you're still thinking about it."
Mhm. Right. I mean, even better, email is what we talk about phone numbers, you
Oh
know,
yes,
and making that call. Right? Like
yeah,
I have a list of people to call for my last show. And and you have to stay in touch.
you do.
You can't well, one, you can't expect them to come for you because it's not even, I think we talked about this a little bit in the last we talked about asking for referrals. Was that last week?
2 weeks ago, I think.
2 weeks ago? Right.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's not that people don't want the art or they don't want to help you, it's that they're not thinking about it. So you have to
No,
stay
exactly.
right.
They don't. They and I didn't internalize that until you said it, or until I heard you say it on one of the videos. And then I was like, yeah, but I'm the same way. I get busy. And then I thought I wanted a thing, and then you don't think about it and you forget about it.
Yeah. Some of these things that I talk about in Art of Selling Art didn't really hit home until I became a collector myself. And I started forgetting about people's arts that I wanted, like this piece
Yeah.
of me that I collected from the Koyazos. Like I would have forgotten, unless he reminded me. What was your experience following up? Like everyone is afraid of the follow-up because of rejection or upsetting the person on the other end of the line. But what was your experience actually doing the follow-up?
I've never upset anybody, luckily.
No?
I've had, of course, I've had people tell me that they were not interested anymore, which is fine.
Just a great
Uh,
answer.
also had many people who were like, "Oh, thank you for reminding me.
Mhm.
Oh, it's not the right time right now, but please keep in touch so I can keep keep reminding me of this."
Yeah. And
They honestly say that to you.
that's the exact experience I've had. People thank me for annoying
Yeah,
me. It's like, and
yeah,
then when they buy the piece, they're like, thank you so much. Like, thank you for, otherwise I wouldn't have it and this wall would be blank, or they would have put some
yeah,
IKEA shit up there, whatever. But they actually thank you. So they've thanked Denise, they've thanked me. They you are a service, right? And you're adding your value add to their lives by them spending money on you, right? So your
yes,
product is something that's really important to them. But in today's world, the metric used to be in TV times that you had to touch your, oh, you're not touch them, but you had to reach your contact. You had to reach your potential customer 11 times. So that's like several TV commercials showing up on a billboard, whatever, old school stuff. And that was when people were much less distracted. And now you have to reach them 30 plus times, right? It's like,
yeah,
it's just the number's huge. And we have to do this follow thing. We have to get through this mindset that we don't deserve or that we should not be acting as a regular business, as a small business, selling anything, and go through the motions and start doing the practicing your art as a business. So that was really cool, and
well,
thank you for sharing that. Go
and
ahead.
in addition, I think what you said, what finally landed with me is that, especially at the price point that I'm at now, is that the people that you are um, following up with, those people want to build a relationship with you. And oftentimes they want to get to know you and feel like they know you before they are comfortable enough,
Mhm.
like
Mhm.
getting there and and making that commitment.
Yeah,
And I really want to feel that they have this personal relationship with you.
yeah. They really do. So check out Denise on all the work she does. I think Denise has a very unique application of collage and painting and photography. So definitely check that out, and look forward to seeing you on the next roundtable.
I'll be there.